Hi, I'm MJ from Linus Publications, and this is the 10th house briefing. What is this? For January 25th, 2026. And in this session, I try and sort of do an upper level view of the things I covered during the week. And I try and make it really quick, and I try to identify if it's applicable, whether or not the person or the situation is losing power, gaining power, whatever. So without further ado, because I have to go back out and finish shoveling snow. Well, snow blowing it. Uh, have more than a foot here already. I talked about Denmark this week, and I brought up a different way of looking, and it's sort of a new technique that some astrologers are using. There aren't many astrologers doing that. And it's in effect laying the degrees across the planet. And if we looked at Denmark, and I use that as an example, it has actually Pluto in that area right now. So Pluto's at about 2-3 degrees, and you can see it's moved not into Denmark, sorry, into Greenland. So that's really interesting. Another thing that was really interesting is that Denmark is at about, I believe it's right near the 2 or 3 line. I can't remember if it's Aries, but Denmark also has a planet, in fact, that's sitting on it too. So it's something that I don't want to say it's something to be counted on, but it's something I'm looking at occasionally when I have things happen, especially with countries, and you don't have an actual time of birth or even a date of birth. So I'm trying to figure out whether or not that can be used in some cases to identify major events that are happening. And it doesn't so much do the country, it's like the state, in effect, the government with the structures. It sort of does the land type of thing. So it will be good for things like earthquakes, volcanoes, but enough about that. So I will come back and do an actual update on Denmark, probably this week. Putin, I did him. And as I noted earlier, his country is in a lot of trouble. I'm thinking, and I still think that, there's some sort of collapse going on that we're not seeing on the outside world. And he's got some ideas that he just doesn't want to let go of. He doesn't want to let go of the fact that he wants what Russia used to have for countries. He wants to get all those back. So, in effect, he's got roadblocks. He can't do it. But he's going to try different ways to get to where he wants to go, but it still doesn't look like it's going to work. So, this might be a surprise thing that happens around May, June timeframe. But we'll see where that happens. So he doesn't have power now. Denmark, let me just come back to that. Denmark actually has some power. The EU is standing up for Denmark, which in effect that is Greenland's territory. So that actually was surprising. What was surprising is Trump backed right off of that. And one of the reasons for that is some of the countries started pulling back on the treasury bonds that they were buying. If countries stop buying treasury bonds, that means that we're going to be in a lot of trouble because we rely on countries buying those bonds, and that's what allows our country to be in debt in so many words. So if they stop buying our bonds or they sell them, it's a tough situation. And maybe someone explained that to Trump. So what about Zelenskyy? He's actually looking good. I had noted this earlier. He has an angle coming up. It could be a difficult one. It's Pluto conjuncting his sun. But put it this way, if he doesn't get ambushed and killed, he's gonna turn into a good leader, very solid, very powerful. So I expect that to start happening soon. Or it could be maybe Putin sends some assassins after him. And I guess that's been, a consistent problem. Now, I also did Jasmine Crockett. Her district was redistricted, so it doesn't look like she would have the votes to win there. So she's running for the Senate. And she is, she's a colorful personality. She gets things done. She's not afraid to speak up. She's a Democrat. Problem is that there's another person running for that. And Jasmine is very ambitious. Right now, what's fueling her is Pluto. And that may not play off very well. So, in effect, she may be pushing too hard to get this, and she may not be able to. I haven't decided one way or the other. I'll probably have a decision in a week or two. The other person running is James Tallarico. So it's the primary, and this is in Texas. And he is, I think, a little bit more in tune with the voter across the state. He has characteristics that he would be able to win. He is, I would say, a moderate and just identifies as a liberal, as a Democrat. He could also identify probably as a Republican. So he's got things that he believes in that I think the people of Texas could approve of, especially if the Republicans running are not up to par. And that's what might be happening. And another thing about him, he's planning his strategy just like he's planning a war. So he's not leaving much to chance here. He's really, trying to figure out all the angles. And it could be maybe he doesn't do a good job, but he's being really careful with this. So I'm sort of leaning toward Tallarico, but before I say that, Jasmine Crockett also has some decent angles. And I want to take a look at exactly what's happening at the election time. I looked at Poland, and someone had actually asked me to do Poland. And I had done it a while ago. I think it was around August, September. And I was noting that there were going to be issues with things like the incursions and stuff like that. And I don't think Poland is taking a lot of this stuff seriously. And they're going to be running into a situation between now and May where maybe they're too overconfident, and there's going to be some destabilizing things going on. Not horrible things, but just enough to destabilize it and just sort of like, where did that come from? So they're going to have to sit up and take notice. They also might have some economic hits. So they may be putting more into their defense, and because of that, it's going to hit economically. Now, I did the USA chart, and that is for February. And I have been saying all along, we have got this Pluto Inc. Venus. And it is a difficult angle. It is, in effect, force coming down on the communities of people. Communities of people, when it started out, it was, and it's usually the fringes, and then eventually they get to the core people. But they started with the fringes with what? Just sort of like the illegals at the fringe. And then they're moving in more. So they're now, taking citizens. They're now literally just taking people off the street and ignoring the fact that they have documentation. So what's happening is, and one of the things that happened with the murders is that coming up, there's an angle, and it actually started yesterday on the 24th. There's an angle to the black moon. And what's happening here is that and this is black moon Lilith. Lilith can see, she's thought of as being evil, but it's sort of that side of ourselves that we don't want to show. But it's sort of like people made Lilith evil. So it's something that was sort of forced on her, and that's what she became. And that's what's happening sort of in the States. You have people now that have been repressed, and they're coming, unfortunately, it's just bubbling right up to the top. Now, so it's an awakening, and there's rage coming out. Now, in the United States, it also looks like we have some change coming, positive change. So this is something good that's coming, but it's going to take a long time to get there. So what it looks like is there's going to be some rebalancing of the power. And we'll have to see how this turns out. But I'm not sure how much longer Trump can stay in power. But I don't really see him leaving. That's the issue. So it could be just that, he just sort of gets put someplace and someone babysits him. It could be something like that. Trump, as I noted last month, he was going to, he's going off his rocker. It's visibly senile at this point. Has no ability to reason. But this month, we're getting the Saturn to his ascendant. So that means we're going to, and you've seen this twice before already. He starts getting sick. He looks older. So in effect, you see him actually look older. He looks heavier. He looks like stooped, so stuff like that happening. And with this, he's going to be really afraid of losing control. And that's one of the issues. The more he's afraid of losing control, the more he's going to tighten the screws to control. So you have someone that's backed into a corner that is going to use whatever power he has to strike out. Now, one of his angles is literally going to be making deep cuts. And this is, again, because, he's going to start getting backed into a corner. There's nothing he can do. And he's vulnerable too in this position. And if you notice, the narratives they're putting out are no longer working. I said that last month that was going to start. That people are no longer going to be believing them. Okay. And all you have to do, and what's really good, people are sort of saying, they're not trying to push opinions. People are just saying, watch the video. That's all you have to do. Videos are pretty clear as to what happened. And you can see all the MAGA people changing the tune. A lot of them saying, oh, well, you need to sort of, make sure that, you comply. Well, no, that's, if you're protesting, you're not trying to really obstruct. You're trying to protest that you don't like what they're doing. But in that effort to push their narrative, they now have run up against, again, gun rights groups. So they're losing control of that. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. But they're losing control of the narrative. And there's not much that you have to do except tell people, watch the video. Okay? And you can remind them, oh, you're not supposed to have guns anymore outside, according to this administration. Okay. Now, the last one I did is Jacob Frey. And I had wanted to do this earlier when I had done Tim Walsh's chart. And this one was really interesting because you can see he's being pushed into confrontations. They're trying to control him. They're trying to push him to do things. And there's very little he can do to react. If he tries to be aggressive back, they're going to be doubly aggressive. And I tried to explain all that in the video. So he is stuck between, he's really just stuck behind a rock. I mean, he's going to be able to sort of come out of that because he's got some nice angles coming up. But I'm not sure if the forces are going to be leaving Minneapolis. And this is difficult for his people. I mean, both him and Walsh love their jobs. They love the people. And this to them is such a failure if they can't protect their people. So just bear that in mind. So Jacob Frey, yeah, right now he doesn't have power, but he will get it. Trump, no. He's going to be losing power. So you're going to see that he's losing control. And when he starts losing control because he's afraid of that, of being vulnerable, he's very afraid of being vulnerable. He's going to push even harder to get control. So he doesn't have control. USA might be getting some back. What's happened is putting a spotlight at the fact that the United States is sort of in the wrong direction. So I think people are going to be pushing for change. And it may be the GOP, but I'm starting to think that it might be sort of the states. I mean, when we went if you look back at 2021, one of the factors that kept the election safe was the states. I mean, some of them, yeah, there was interference, but that was sort of afterwards. They were trying to, like, what was it, Arizona, they got the voting machines and all that. The GOP did. But the states have actually pushed back then and said, no, you can't have this stuff. This is ours. So they were actually, if you look at what was happening in Georgia, it was a GOP, Republican governor that said no to Trump. So I don't know if I'm looking so much to the GOP in Congress. I think the GOP governors might be someone or a group that step up. It might also be business people. Have to be careful here, though, because if they see their businesses are going off the cliff, then they will not be supporting Trump. But the problem is, Trump has moved, and I mentioned in one of the videos, Trump has moved away from supporting the GOP, and he's supporting the billionaire group now. So they may feel like they're protected by him, but we know how Trump's protection works. It's never, long lasting. So sorry to go on, but the United States will have some power. I think we're coming back into it. We lost a lot during this the Greenland thing and the other stuff that Trump is doing. Poland? No, not yet. I think they have to sort of wake up a little bit more. And other than that, have a great evening, and thank you for watching. Bye now.